If you want to support the channel, be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Thank you. What's up, everybody? Tricks Ridiculous back with another video, and today is the day the final update for Marvel's Avengers is coming out, and I figured what better way to reflect on the history of this game than with a tier list of my favorite cheeses for the game. So that's what we're going to go over today. Before we do, be sure to like and subscribe. Plenty more non-Marvel's Avengers videos coming very soon. But otherwise, let's jump right into it. Now, these are just the cheeses I kind of could come up with off the top of my head, and they're in no particular order. So I'll kind of explain what each of these cheeses are for anyone who doesn't remember or maybe didn't play when they were a thing, because not all of these were around when or I should say for the entire game. So that's what we're going to go through. And there may be other ones other than these. I'm sure I'll think of more after I record this video. That's how it always happens. Let me know if I forgot any of your favorite cheeses down in the comments below. But without further ado, let's jump right into it. Now, the first one we're going to talk about is the Winter Soldier's Fire Rate cheese. So this was the one, if you remember when Winter Soldier first came out, you could charge up his high cal shot and then switch to the rapid fire, and then it would just shoot all the rapid fire shots. This was an awesome, awesome cheese. It easily catapulted Winter Soldier all the way to the complete top of the DPS chart. No matter how you had him spec'd, it didn't matter. You could be wearing all white or green gear. It just didn't matter. No matter what you had equipped on him or what his precision was, a single Winter Soldier could absolutely melt any enemy in the game, including Claw. So this was a fun cheese. Obviously, it got nerfed pretty quickly, but for the time it was around, it was certainly fun to goof around with. I'm going to put this one in the A tier. All right. Next one is ability merging. Now, I just put ability merging in general. This applied to a number of different characters. A lot of folks could do this. This was prevalent on, most notably, I think, Hawkeye towards the end. This was the cheese where if you essentially equipped a certain piece of gear and then changed it after the mission started and then reloaded checkpoint, it would kind of have both of the pieces of gear working. So for Hawkeye, you could get like an extra charge of your Nightstorm arrow while also getting the ability that, you know, completely fills up your overcharge when you activate your ultimate. Things like that. Now, there were limitations to this because those gear kind of tweaks would only really work until you changed gear again. They wouldn't last from mission to mission. You had to redo it after every mission. So there were limitations. To me, they were a little bit more annoying to actually do regularly than to be like a really foundational cheese. So for that, I'll put them in the B tier. There were other ones. Spider-Man could do some things to get multiple web bombs. Black Widow could get more ammo in her guns, things like that. But for that, just in general, I'll put that in the B tier. Next one we have is Infinite Embiggen. Now, this is a Ms. Marvel cheese, obviously. This one was a really cool one, and this one never got nerfed. This was basically when you were in an elevator in a mission, or any type of, really any type of interactable in a mission that would make Ms. Marvel kind of go from Embiggen to small, most notably in elevators. You could just kind of quickly press on and off the actual interact button, and it'll keep shrinking her and embiggening her again, and every time you do it, it would add 10 seconds to your embiggen timer. Now, it wasn't infinite per se, but you could get it, you know, all the way up to 30 minutes or longer. Really, there was no limit to how long you could get it going. I had embiggen timers over an hour, you know, during some runs. There were some limitations to this. Of course, if you died, if you got knocked unconscious, you know, while you were embiggened, you would, of course, lose it. And it was only usable in missions that didn't, or that had some type of elevator or some type of thing like that, which there were a lot, including the raid. So it was certainly useful, but you know, you kind of had to slow the team down. In a lot of cases, it wasn't super worth the effort you put into it. Most raid teams weren't going to let you just sit there and just jam the embiggen thing over and over and over again, especially if the team as a whole were to wipe for whatever reason, you would lose that embiggen as well. But for solo play especially, it was pretty fun. I'm going to put it in the A tier. All right, then we have Thor's Triple God Blast, and this, of course, transcribed right over to Jane Foster as well. They absolutely mimicked the glitch right over to her. This should come as no surprise to anyone playing the game, but of course, this is how you could merge two different God Blasts, essentially equipping starting with the Triple God Blast with Thor, changing it to the Frost one, and then reloading checkpoint. And then you would literally have 3 God Blasts forever. It would last through resets of the game. You could turn the game off, come back. You could stop playing. You could delete your save, or you could delete the game, reinstall it. It didn't matter. You would always just have Triple God Blast as long as you never touch the ability again. I can tell you I activated this cheese on my Thor probably a week or so after the game came out, and it's never ever gone away for 2 years. So this one has survived every single nerf. They never touched it. They in fact replicated it onto Jane Foster. To me, Thor Triple God Blast, everybody knew it, everybody used it. This has to be an S tier cheese for me. All right, next one we have is the Day of the Remains XP cheese. Now, this is a bit of a niche one. I happen to remember this. This was one of the first cheese videos I put out. But the Day of the Remains was essentially the mission that everyone used to use to level back in the day. It was the one where you fight the 2 fire adaptoids at the end. And everyone was just running it over and over again. But basically what you used to be able to do was you used to be able to just load into the mission, run to the very first checkpoint. You would get a plug, a big chunk of XP. And then you would essentially just reload checkpoint and do it again. So it was essentially similar to the Super Adaptoid Farm, which is actually coming up in a bit. Without actually having to fight anything. You literally just ran to a spot, got your XP, reloaded checkpoint. Now, this got nerfed fairly quickly, but it was something that was discovered very early in the game and allowed a lot of people to get some characters that were maybe lagging behind up to that level 50. Because remember, when the game first came out, we all had to level 6 characters right off the bat, all kind of in one go. It wasn't like a new character came out and then everyone just leveled that character and it was all they played, right? You kind of had to choose who you wanted to play and level people up. So this helped a lot of people just balance out their rosters and just max out their entire roster in the beginning. This was before champion ranks. So this got nerfed prior to champion ranks coming out. So it was really only useful to get people up to level 50, but it was still a very solid cheese at the time of the game's life cycle. I'm going to put it in the B tier. All right, now coming over to Natashas Armor. Now, this was a very interesting one. Now, this was, of course, I think it was called Natashas Armor, actually, or Natashas Battle Plate or something. Forget the actual gear piece, but it was the chest piece on Black Panther. It completely sucked. It was absolutely terrible. But for whatever reason, people just discovered that when you put it on, everything you did just did 10 times damage, no matter what you were doing. So it was a no-brainer that you just equipped it, and then that was that, right? You just melted everything. Super Adaptoid at the time, everything just went to shit immediately. Now, this was before the raid came out, so it was at a bit of a weird time, right? A lot of people were kind of critical. This was the first time something like this really existed. This was well before, obviously, Winter Soldier's fire rate cheese, which, like I said, everyone just had fun with. No one actually cared about that. The Natashas, this came out, the Black Panther came out about a month or two-ish before the actual raid itself, the very first raid. So a lot of people were kind of divided on this. Some people were just like, oh, who cares? It's fun. But other people were like, no, like if we're going to like take raid races seriously or anything like that, you can't have things like this that are just going to absolutely blow everything else out of the water. So it did, if it went unchecked, it would have undermined the integrity of, raid races or anything like that. Not that any of that ended up mattering in the end anyway, and there was, of course, only the one raid. But Natashas Armor, it was kind of just a goofy thing. It really wasn't anything like funky or funny. It was, the Winter Soldier fire rate glitch was at least fun to use. You kind of just had this unlimited spray of ammo like that. Natashas was just a behind the scenes 10 times damage boost. So to me, it was a little more boring than actually using a cheese method. So for that, I'll put it in the B tier. All right, so next one, we've got the time gate cheese. Now, this was the big one. This was the one where essentially you could bypass the weekly lockout on the raid or any activity. And essentially what you would do is you would put the game offline, turn your clock about a week back on your system, and then go back into the game in offline mode. While you're in offline mode on the game and you load into the Avengers initiative or whatever the offline mode is called, you would turn your online back on, right? And then let the war table kind of refresh on you. Then turn the game off, switch it back to the normal date, and then when you log in, all of your weekly objectives would be refreshed, and you'd be able to do the raid over and over again, and you would get those power drops over and over again. Now, a lot of people did abuse this to get to 175 pretty quickly on certain characters. To me, this was the best cheese. To me, this was absolutely the best cheese in the game. I was absolutely glad to share this with as many people as I could because it made the game fun. I think anyone who took advantage of this, like, let me know down in the comments, like, was this the most fun time you had playing this game? I think it was, for me anyway. I think a lot of developers, not to go down a rabbit hole on time gating, but I mean, CD, you wanted to follow a very traditional live service game model. They wanted the weekly lockout. It was what other live service games did, and they didn't want to be innovative. They just wanted to copy the same thing. So, of course, when a cheese like this came out, they had to address it quickly because it went against what they wanted to do for the game. Rather than say, maybe we should pivot and just let the players have fun, they said, no, you can't have fun. You have to do things the way we want you to do them. So this cheese can go fly a kite, right? But to me, this was the best cheese in the game, hands down. I'm going to put this in S tier at the top. All right, next one, Iron Man rocket spam. So this one's pretty straightforward, and this isn't too much of a cheese, so to speak, more of just a technique, but it did require some skill as well. This was basically, you could essentially fire a rocket with Iron Man and then quickly swap to your repulsor and then back to the rocket and fire again without, and essentially bypass the cooldown for the rocket. So you definitely see some videos, or, if you look it up, you could find people who are absolutely just completely in auto fire mode. I know a lot of players on controller even remapped their buttons to be able to get it going faster, because you had to kind of fire, swap, and then fire again. So a lot of people had like a technique that they just did, but this would get, all other cheeses aside, this was far and away the highest DPS in the game in any sense imaginable. Even on PC, a lot of players would even develop macros, just scripts that they would just write to be the exact sequence and go as fast as humanly possible, so they could just hold down one button and essentially just auto fire rockets. So this was a cool cheese. It is funny, the developers did say publicly that they were planning on addressing this in a future patch, but that ain't happening anymore. So this is probably going to live on forever. It's a very solid thing. It was always around. It's been around since day one. Was always reliable for Iron Man mains. This was something that you did. To me, this has to go in the A tier as far as cheeses. Next one, Up from the Depths, Adaptoid XP Farm. So another XP farm. This one, I think a lot of people know this one. This is the one where you went in the Black Widow iconic mission, the Up from the Depths. You go right up to the first area. There's an Adaptoid there. You don't have to kill any other enemy. You just kill the Adaptoid. He's the only one you have to kill. It'll complete the objective, and then you reload checkpoint. And then you do that over and over again. This was something this is still going on to this day. A lot of people thought it got nerfed, but it never actually got nerfed. Basically, especially during like 4x XP weekends, this was something you could really grind out a lot of champion levels on if you really really went for it. But to me, I mean, it was pretty boring, and champion levels didn't really do anything. Champion levels were more of a flex, in my opinion, than anything. Like, people just wanted to say that they had 375 and kind of show that off, especially early on in champion levels. They wanted to flex that off pretty fast. But honestly, I mean, the amount of work and effort that went into doing this versus what you got out of it, to me, was absolutely not worth it. So in my personal opinion, this is, I would say, maybe a C tier cheese. All right, next one, vendor gear leveling cheese. So this was a fairly recent one. This is basically, it's a little tricky to explain, but this is basically where at a high level you could get a brand new character. So whenever a new character came out, you could essentially cheese the vendors into selling you higher level gear. I believe Bob Duck and Weave has a really good video on it. I don't know if it's still up. I think he got yelled at by the former devs of this game for doing that. But basically, this was a way that you could level up brand new characters right to 150 gear score in a matter of minutes. I mean, literally like 10 minutes, you could level people up. To me, this is a great cheese. This is a great cheese, in my opinion. I'm going to put it in the A tier just because it just saved time. I mean, it's, you know, if you want to be respectful of people's time, like, let's be honest, no one actually cared to level up their guys. If I'm being 100% frank, I remember when way back in the day, they nerfed how much XP you actually got because they thought people got confused getting too many points at once. And then all of a sudden they started selling boosters. They were having 4 times XP weekends. I mean, come on, like, who are you guys joking? Let's be realistic. We all just wanted to get to that 150, you know, max level and then start actually doing in-game content, finding exotics, finding legendaries with unique perks. No one, you know, any type of just leveling just to level in any game. This is not even Marvel's Avengers, but anytime you're going to like roll a new character and level them up with the intent of just getting them to max level as soon as possible, to me, having a really long grind from there to there is just disrespectful of players' time. So to me, this saved a lot of people a lot of time and got them into the fun that they wanted to play. To me, that's an A-tier cheese, no question. Next one, Darkhold cooldown cheeses. So for this one, I kind of grouped this together. There used to be a couple of different characters that could abuse the Darkhold to get unlimited heroics and then essentially remove the cooldown. Iron Man used to be able to do it when he would, you could essentially use the Darkhold, get your Hulkbuster, get in the Hulkbuster, use it, and then when you got out of the Hulkbuster, the 5-minute cooldown on the Darkhold was actually removed. So you could activate it again, get your Hulkbuster back and get back in the Hulkbuster. You would just stay in Hulkbuster forever. You could never die, and that was that. Same thing with Kamala. You used to be able to do it to get all your heroics, and then if you actually went down, you would die. You could just self-res with Kamala, and that when you went down and then back up, the 5-minute cooldown on Darkhold would be gone. Now they did fix this. Darkhold pretty useless now, but those were some fun cheeses. It wasn't anything that was overly game breaking, but it was, you know, it was something that was definitely abusable. I'll put it in the B tier. All right. Next one, I'm going to jump over to MCU Skin Glitching. So this, I'm not going to tell anybody or show anybody how to do it. This was not really a cheese almost. It was pretty much just people essentially not modding, but essentially save editing their game files to get skins early. So if you've ever seen like someone who had an actual in-game shot of a skin that had not been released yet, that's an example of what this is. This would be essentially getting skins on your character by modifying your game to have your character wear the skins that you don't own. This one, it served a purpose. Now, I would never, ever tell anybody how to do this or advise anybody to do this because this on anything on this list will get you banned immediately, right? Now, following the, you know, ended development of the game and all the skins being free anyway, it's not going to matter. But I would have never done a video on this because this will get you banned, and I'm pretty sure anybody who did this most likely got banned. This did serve the purpose of at least getting some skins out there. So if you ever saw like a leaked skin in game, like the cap shaded cap, or like any of the MCU skins where people actually like revealed them on Reddit or Twitter, and it was just like a screenshot from their game of them wearing them, that came from this cheese. So, you know, nice for the community to just maybe see some stuff like that. Probably really nothing different than what Miller was leaking anyway, at least just an in-game shot of that. But this was something that was probably going to get you banned if you even tried it, so I would certainly not recommend it. I'm going to put that in the D tier. And then the last one here is the unlimited units cheese. So this one had 2 versions of it, and it's funny. This is the cheese that actually got me banned from the game for 10 days. A lot of people think it was because of the time gate cheese. It actually wasn't. It was because of this one. Whenever you mess with skins, that's where their pocketbooks are. So that's where they're gonna hit you for messing with them, right? More so than any type of gameplay. But this was essentially the one. Once you get to that mission in the main story, right past the Iron Man mission where you go really fast in the suit of armor, you would kind of get a tutorial of the patterns machine. And essentially what you could do is just go into your menu and back out of your menu, and you would get another new pattern. And then every time you opened a pattern that was a duplicate, you would get 250 units, right? So you could essentially just farm patterns, blue patterns. People would show me pages of theirs where you could just scroll for 30 minutes and they were still showing patterns. It was crazy. People had so many patterns. I definitely attribute this cheese to so many people having 99999 units. So many people maxed out their units on this. So I could not be happier that happened. This was extremely useful because it came out, or it came to light anyway, right around the time that shipments were actually happening. So this helped a ton of people. I can't even tell you how many messages I got from people who are just like, I don't really have a lot of time to play. I wasn't going to be able to get like that Wakandan stealth armor, from filling out the shipments to 100. But thanks to this cheese, I was able to do it. Thank you so much. And like, that to me is awesome, And the funniest thing about this cheese is they nerfed it, and then I still found a way to get around it. So after they nerfed it, it essentially, there was another way you could do it where you could go into the menu, tab over to your codex, tab back, and then come out of your menu. So you literally had to press 2 extra buttons and you would get a pattern. So it was still unlimited. So it was actually insane. And they had such egg on their face from saying that they nerfed it to then me releasing a video showing them that they didn't nerf it and you could still get it. And then I think more people probably got more units from the version 2 because there was so much more. It was so much more brought to light, right? Everyone thought that they missed out once it was nerfed. And then they found out that, oh no, it wasn't missed. I didn't miss out on it. And then they wanted to do it. And then they did it. That is what, right after that happened, pretty much a couple days or a week after that video came out, that is when I received the email that I was banned for 10 days specifically for this. And then I know that there was, stern warning against showing off cheeses or glitches. So to me, unlimited units cheese, that goes right in the S tier. But anyway, that's it. Those are my cheeses. Looking back on all the cheeses and all the glitches in this game, that I've showed off or that others have showed off, there were a lot of cool ones. And, in my opinion, when it comes to cheeses, I mean, every game has cheeses or tweaks or exploits of some kind. And, as far as I'm concerned, as long as you're not actually hacking, as long as you're within the confines of the game, if there's maybe a way to get a resource quickly and easily in a game, or just like a way to do way more damage than intended, as long as you're within the confines of the game, to me, that's fair game. It's on the developer to fix anything if there are issues. So I never considered any of this stuff cheating, or anything like that. And games have cheeses all the time. And really, in my opinion, it's always on the developers to actually find this stuff out and fix it. So I don't feel guilty for showing anybody these cheeses. But regardless, these were my favorite cheeses to kind of show off in Marvel's Avengers. The game itself, just as this being kind of the final send-off, appreciate everybody who watched any of my Avengers videos. It was a great community. I loved everybody. And, we're certainly not done with YouTube. Definitely plenty more videos coming out for more upcoming games. We're looking at Diablo. We're looking at Redfall. We're looking at Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. We're looking at Spider-Man 2. So I know it's been a little bit of a drought right now, but otherwise, plenty more videos coming out. But you guys know me. I'm not putting out videos just to force something to get put out. If I've got nothing, to show you guys or nothing to say, I have no problem taking a month off and not putting out a video. That's just how I roll. So that's that. Let me know down in the comments what your favorite cheeses are and what your favorite moments are from Marvel's Avengers. I hope you all have an excellent day. Be sure to like and subscribe for more videos, and I'll see you in the next one.